What is up, everybody? Real quick today, we are going to jump into the Longhorns versus Iowa State. It's tough when you haven't played in 2 weeks. We had to postpone the Kansas game for COVID reasons, not for the Longhorns, for the Kansas football team. Longhorns been sitting around. We haven't gotten to watch our Longhorns in a couple weeks. I think this is a really good thing, though, for the Longhorns. Been able to rest, get healthy. Guys like Jordan Whittington, guys like Sam Ehlinger. Justin, when we were in the stadium versus West Virginia, it was kind of one of those performances where we were sitting there kind of hoping, like, man, I hope Sam's kind of playing through an injury or something here, because it was kind of a bad performance. And now he's had 2 weeks, extra time to kind of, get his body right. Everybody on the team, we've got Jordan Whittington coming back, slot receiver, a bunch of guys getting healthy. And it's perfect time because this is our most important game of the season right here. Iowa State, they just beat the lights out of Kansas State. Both of them were kind of tied for number one. Iowa State beat them 45-0. It was a impressive win, and the Longhorns are going to have to show up and be impressive. This is the last home game for Sam Ehlinger, and we're going to need him to go out swinging. We're going to need Sam to really perform in this one. Justin, you would really love Iowa State's offense. They run the 2 or 3 tight end a lot, pound the football. They're pulling guards, pulling tight ends. They're not a Big 12 team at all. They're like a Big 10 football team, power run. They got a really good
They're
running back.
they're my high school team, is what it sounds like. Because all we
Yeah.
did was pound the rock and line up in old school wishbone and three tight ends and just pound and pound and pound, and then we'd fumble at the 80 and give the ball up.
Well, they're
But
not fumbling a whole lot. They're doing a good job beating teams. I'm really excited. Another thing we kind of talked about after the West Virginia game was we felt like West Virginia called the game where they were afraid of our front seven. Felt like they respected our front seven. And so, Iowa State, I mean, this is best on best. This is power football versus the strength of our team being the front seven of our defense. So I'm excited, man. I think this is going to be a fun one. It is on Friday night. Or I'm sorry, it is on Friday. It's Friday morning at 11.
yeah, it's a kind of weird schedule. But something I wanted to say about Sam, we are kind of talking like we hoped he played on an injury this past week, technically now.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago we kind of hoping he was playing off an injury. I actually listened to a little bit of Tom Herman's press conference when Colin Cowherd was on a commercial break. And Tom Herman was talking about how this week of rest is always like really important to his team because I'm assuming that some of the Texas players are a little dinged up. I wouldn't say banged up like completely badly, but I think he's trying to take advantage of this bye week and in the middle of the season and kind of get most of his players back and healthy. So if Sam was a little dinged up, which we both know he's a runner, I can definitely see how that is important and should help them going into the Iowa State game.
Absolutely. If nothing else, just the body's fresh
Yeah,
and they haven't had to take the pounding. I mean, everybody, it's not just Sam, but most importantly, for our quarterback to feel right heading into the biggest game of the season to this point for sure.
yeah, and
And then another interesting thing, and I don't know, it's kind of a weird one because it's in the season. The Longhorns always play really well in bowl games. Part of the reason for that is because they get so much time to prepare, whatever it is, the kind of the time off, then get back focused, get back into game mode, and then come out really hungry. Um, I'm hoping we see bowl team Longhorns. They come out, they're hot, they're swinging, and they come out with a lot of energy. They've had some extra time here, and I hope they come out with a lot of fire against Iowa State because they're going to need it.
yeah, bowl team Texas should look a lot like Bijan Robinson carry the ball 60 times
60 is a lot,
at
man.
least. He needs to
60
get
is
the
a
rock.
lot.
He needs to get the rock, and with all those
I
TV
agree, though.
timeouts,
I
he's gonna
agree.
have plenty of rest.
That's true.
He's gonna
That's
be
true.
he's gonna be just fine. But that dude needs to get the rock. I think that should be like y'all's biggest plan going forward.
Priority number one. Yeah.
And we've been hearing it everywhere. If you listen to 104.9, they talk about it all the time right now. Is they need to feed Bijan Robinson. Nobody's sure why they haven't been doing it all season, but um, hopefully we get a lot of him because I'm confused at the running back situation in Texas right now.
Everybody is. Everybody is. And kind of in Tom Herman's defense here, he did the same thing with Keontae Ingram. Keontae Ingram, when he came in, he was our best running back at the time, but he was a true freshman, and so he didn't play him a whole lot. Now Keontae Ingram, we've kind of seen who he is, kind of know who Roschon Johnson is. We think that Bijan is by far the better running back, the better athlete. But same boat. He's a true freshman, and Tom Herman kind of sticks to his guns there. I guess you could say a bit stubborn in that way. But yeah, man, I really hope they do because we need them. We need our best. Don't save anybody in this one because this is, this is your playoff game right here. I mean, this is, for the season. So let's full send.
Yeah, and if Tom Herman does what he needs to do and pounds the rock, this should be a great grind game. Because I mean, Texas does a really good job of trying to take shots. I think later in games. So if they can pound the rock and kind of get them to step up in the box, and if Iowa State isn't on the field as much, grinding y'all's defense out, it's definitely going to be a battle of a game, which is what it sounds like at least.
Yeah, and I hope it's going to be a fun one. And then right after that, we do jump into K-State, the team that Iowa State did just beat, and then we have Kansas after that. So, the 3-game stretch is still here, but it starts with the biggest one, and I love that. I think that's great. If we could get this win, it just propels the confidence going forward. And man, the Big 12 is there. I'm excited. I'm ready. Hopefully we show up and play well in the last home game of the season.
Definitely, definitely. Hopefully Sam can go out with a bang at Texas. He's done a lot for Texas, so we'll see.
All right, Justin, real quick, got a question for you before we wrap this thing up for today. Obviously, everybody's been talking about it all season. Tom Herman wins the Big 12. He buys himself another year. Kind of the word around is he's lost the trust from the boosters. He's lost the trust from this and that. What do you think will happen if he wins the Big 12 championship? Is that enough? Right? When you start talking about the money, you start talking about the boosters have already lost faith. If he loses a game, if he loses a Big 12 championship game, maybe it's a close one versus, Oklahoma again. If it goes to overtime, I mean, what does it take? Where are you at? What does it take for Tom Herman to come back again next year? Or how close is it for you?
Um, for me, I think what we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier is this game is important, but I think if you're a Texas fan or if you're a Texas booster or anything of that nature, all these games are very important for Tom Herman because from what it sounds like is he is looking he's I wouldn't say he's on the hot seat, but he's very, very close to it from what I'm hearing. So I think that Tom Herman has a lot to prove, and I think Tom Herman does need that more or less to sweep the season, the rest of the season for him to stay here. But I disagree with that. I think coaches with the program he's built and he's looking in the right direction. He just found a superstar workhorse. I mean, we've got to work on the quarterback situation now because Sam is gone after this year. But I think that building in college is very important, and you need close to around 4 or 5 years. And I think that Tom Herman is, if I was the AD at Texas, he would be safe. But from what it sounds like, he is not at all. So I think it's very important that Tom Herman wins out the rest of the season and at least makes it to the Big 12 championship. I think that is kind of the staple right there. He has to make it there for him to keep his job, especially going into 2021.
And I completely agree with you in the sense of, I support Tom Herman. I think we're going in the right direction. We're starting to produce players. You look at, Pro Football Focus, their position breakdown of the Big 12. The Longhorns have multiple guys that lead in certain categories, right? That's not something you could have said 3 years ago. When Tom Herman had to take over and rebuild what was left from Charlie Strong.
Right.
And we're starting to get more and more players in the draft spotlight. We had multiple players drafted last year. We're going to have maybe 2 first-rounders this year. That would be just amazing. We haven't had a first-round draft pick in forever. So we're headed in the right direction. I totally agree. I think we need more time, especially in this weird year, the COVID year.
Very.
I mean, man, I don't know. I think it would be harsh to pull the trigger. I understand the expectations and everything. I get it. Part of the reason we had those expectations coming into the season though is because what we saw from Tom Herman and we believe in him. So I mean, it just, I don't know. I agree. I say we ride with it. Stick it out. Um, but like we've kind of said in the past, if the money's not there, it doesn't really matter anyway.
That's true.
So it doesn't necessarily matter what we think. But I'm with Tom Herman, and I hope we finish this season strong for him for sure.
Absolutely, man.
All right, everybody, that's it for us today. Appreciate y'all checking out the video, checking out the channel. If y'all wouldn't mind, drop a like, drop a subscribe. We're doing Longhorn content every week after games, before games. Justin over here is doing Cowboy content all the time, and we're kind of mixing and matching on these videos. Getting the perspective of a fan of that team and a non-fan.
Guys, like, subscribe, comment down below. Let us know what you think. Videos will be somewhere up here. Check out our playlist. Check out our videos. Let us know what you think, guys. Appreciate it.